Speaking of Kyle, what do you think attracted him to work with you guys? Was it the dick pics in the group chat? Like, why did he come to you guys over everybody else?
And I understand again, like wanting to be transparent. I respect that as well. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just giving the industry a little bit of a bad rep when you kind of see like a CEO who might be like beefing with this CEO, and like people are going back and forth because now it kind of puts it in an unprofessional manner. I think with any strategy, man, I've said this so many times before. I feel like you could give a trader a strategy that genuinely works 90% of the time, and the trader will still blow the account. I mean, listen, man, anyone, we've all talked about this for so long.
Yeah.
Like any firm that's trying to think of the business in terms of longevity, in terms of like 5 years plus, they would welcome regulation simply because it would give us a framework to operate in.
Why did you guys jump to quickly changing the language on your website when FTMO and some of the other firms did not? What up, traders? Welcome back to the Day Trading Show. My name is Austin Silver. I'm your host. I appreciate you being here with us. Today, I've got a great episode. We've started the new year with some powerful guests, so we're going to keep the ball rolling. We've got Omar in the building for round 3. Now, Omar is one of the 3 main faces at Skilled Funded Traders. If you don't know who they are one of the new evaluation prop firms that have come up in the last couple of years, and they're making waves. So today, we sit down to talk about the back end, the business of running a prop firm and an evaluation firm, and being a trader. Omar's still trading, and he's actively in his community sharing trade ideas. We talk about these crazy scams that go on with people trying to one up the firms. In certain countries, it's groups of people. It's kind of new to me. I never really knew about this, and I think you guys are going to find it very interesting. We talk about strategy. We mentioned ICT a little bit because he is a little bit of an ICT trader. We talk about the success from some of these guys like Kyle. Some of you know him as a Jade Cap. He's working with Skilled Funded Traders. We talk about Paladin and his success as well. Just how these new guys, these young guys, are making massive waves and also massive trading returns. I think you guys are going to love this entire episode. It's just easy to talk to Omar. He's a great guy, and I love sitting down with him. So enough out of me. Enjoy the podcast. Make sure you check the links in the description so you can connect. Omar's got a lot of stuff coming on YouTube in 2024, and I don't want you guys to miss any of that. So thank you for being here. Make sure you're subscribed. Check those links and enjoy the conversation with Omar. All right, traders, listen up. Before we continue with today's podcast, I have to share with you some important information because a lot of you come to me asking, how can you help me make more money, Austin? What does that process look like? The simple answer is you join the Blackshirt Club, which is our all-inclusive 12-week trading mentorship program, and you work with me every single day. In the Blackshirt Club, we don't just trade together. You get weekly private coaching sessions. You also get a year for free. That's $550 worth of value to trade Zella, to track your trades, to journal properly. So we actually have some data to make the adjustments from. But really, I think the bigger overarching thing you get in the Blackshirt Club is accountability and feedback from traders with more experience than you. Those 2 things alone are worth thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because think about it, you're learning how to make unlimited income and you're saving yourself tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential losses. Remember, when I started trading, I had no mentorship. I lost almost $50,000 in the first 2 years. If I can save you from losing 50 G's, how much would you pay me? I want you guys to book a call with me. It's probably flying in up here. The link is in the description. Book a call. It's 10 minutes. It's free. If the Blackshirt Club is something that you're interested in, it is a little bit of a time commitment. It's for serious traders, not brand new people, but you get everything included. Like I said, Trade Zella, my course is included. I'll even give you a month free of Asfx TV. So book a call if this interests you. Let's hop on and see if you're a good fit. It's not for everybody. I am definitely selective in who I allow into the club, but if I think I can make an impact on you after that welcome call, we'll get rolling, we'll get the 12 weeks popping, and we'll get you making more money. Link is down below. Like I said, maybe it flew in above my head. Tap it, book the call, and I'll speak with you guys soon. Again, thank you for being a listener of the podcast. Let's get back to the video. What's up, traders? Welcome back to the show. So today we've got the man, the myth, the SFT legend himself, Mr. New York. We got Omar back in the building for round 3, bro. Making me feel old that we're already around on round 3, but it's good to have you back, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you been? Doing
I'm
well.
good. I'm good. I'm good. It's good to sit with you always, bro. I appreciate your insight and I appreciate you giving us the time. So let's jump right in. I know everybody's probably like, what are they going to talk about? We already did Omar's story. We already did some strategy. So today we're going to talk about the business of trading, the reality of running a business, and then also being a trader, because they are 2 separate things. And we were speaking about that a little bit before we started the recording. So let me hit you with the first question. What is, because we all know trading is stressful. I mean, no matter how good at trading you are, it still is a
Yeah.
stressful career. What's the most stressful part of running a prop firm?
Yeah. Yeah, so the number one thing when it comes to like the evaluation companies and the firms, it's actually like, so we were talking a little bit about this off camera, but it's really just the risk side of things when it comes to like a bunch of cheaters, right? So for me personally, obviously we have a whole dedicated risk team for that. So the risk team, obviously, they have to allocate resources, they have to allocate time. It obviously comes at a cost. But I think, and if you could ask any firm owner, I think they would all say the same. The most stressful part is honestly like dealing with a lot of the cheaters that goes on, a lot of the shady stuff that goes on, because that's the side of things that a lot of people don't see, right? Everyone kind of vilifies the firms, but then they don't see on the back end how many people are trying to gamify this, try to game the system. So I would say that for me personally, because obviously, we have our whole team for that. I think for myself, simply, it's really been honestly, I think it's been the kind of like dealing with the PR of stuff, right? Because I don't mind like the day-to-day operations. I personally like I enjoy that type of stuff personally. But yeah, it's just like it's kind of weird, like the PR online, the different like things people always have to say, whether it's about again, not even just about SFT, but about other firms as well, because we're obviously all still in the same niche. People always just saying, "Oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen," especially in lieu of the MFF situation, right? So I think just kind of just dealing with like kind of people always just talking, um, and honestly, like a little bit of nonsense as well, because like it's funny because like a lot of people speak about things that they have absolutely no clue about, but because they speak about it with such confidence, people think it's the truth. I think just dealing with that. But honestly, I've been online now since what, like last year, going on 2 years now, like being kind of in the public face. So I'm kind of used to it, and I'm getting used to that part as well. But it just kind of sucks, man, because I used to like enjoy interacting on Twitter, but now it's like I just post, do my thing, obviously to keep growing the Twitter account, keep growing the socials. Um, but I think that's kind of been the most difficult part.
It's almost a turnoff, and that's a great answer. It's almost a turnoff because like you want to be on Twitter, and when you and I first connected, we connected because I loved your tweets. Like you were just tweeting things that I agree with and that I liked the way you said it. And you would get hundreds of likes and a lot of comments, sometimes hundreds of comments of people also agreeing and then maybe sometimes disagreeing. But I remember like it was good conversation. But now I think because especially the My Forex funds explosion, that's kind of it definitely went up a notch, didn't it? Where everybody, like you said, is talking with conviction, like they know everything about prop firms and how they run. They know everything about the back end. It just exploded then, which made me look at it from the outside. And I'm thinking, people that speak with certainty in most things in life are never correct. You know what I'm the guy that's like, you have to do it this way. This is the only way. This is what's happening. Normally, he's not right. So then it's like all these people acting overconfident, acting like you said, like they know. And then that overconfidence makes it easier for people like the listeners, the readers, makes it easy for them to believe. So it can be very misleading. So now, what is the solution, do you think, for prop firms? Because, like, I mean, people want to hear from you. People want to hear from Angelo. People want to hear from Tristan. They want to hear from the guys that are like running the firms and getting into the back end. We don't want to hear that you're not on Twitter as much. So what is the solution? Do you have a PR team at the firm that's kind of helping manage all of that? Or do you just kind of deal with it and just tweet and dip like Joe Rogan says?
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a good question, right? It depends on how involved like all of the CEOs want to be online.
Sure.
Because when you look at a company like FTMO, for example, right? FTMO, they're not obviously like the owners, like people can find out who the owner is. But in the same breath, it's more like they're kind of like behind the scenes. Similar with
Right.
MFF, right? People knew who the owner was, but they were kind of just like treating it like more professionally. I
Right.
think most CEOs, specifically on Twitter, right? Because obviously it's like kind of like there's that niche of the firms on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think most CEOs probably could benefit a little bit from like not being as transparent, because I understand like the concept behind it, but at the same time, what it does is it opens that individual up to a lot of like, critiques. And I understand again, like wanting to be transparent, and I respect that as well. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just giving the industry a little bit of a bad rep when you kind of see like a CEO who might be like beefing with this CEO, and like people are going back and forth, because now it kind of puts it in an unprofessional manner. It's
Yep.
funny because at the beginning, I'm thinking with when we were launching obviously SFT, I'm like thinking, okay, one of the big benefits is having the CEOs at the forefront, right? Because back then, it wasn't like most CEOs weren't really present, right? It was just the company, and the CEOs weren't really on Twitter. But I think we kind of started that movement where it was like, all right, now in order for us to kind of like build up and compete, and we talked about this on Riz's podcast, you know, where we wanted to be at the forefront of like our firm, right? We weren't trying to just kind of be on the backside and just like promote something and like not try and take ownership, but we want to put our faces to it as well because people can hold us accountable. And I think since then there was like been a surge of like props, the firm CEOs all kind of coming out,
Yep.
and like of course like that's good for business as well. But I think a lot of them just lack that professionalism because yeah, and it's not
You got to be
not to throw shade.
tasteful. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got
it's
to be
not to throw
like,
shade at anyone at all, but it's
no, no,
just
no, it's
it's
not.
putting
It's a
in a
great,
bad light. Yeah.
it's a great answer. And I mean, look right now. I don't know if you saw this week on Twitter. And this episode's coming out, like I said, at the beginning of the year. But right now, Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro are beefing on Twitter when Candace Owens works for Ben's company, The Daily Wire. And everybody on the outside that's reading it is commenting saying, we don't want to hear this. Like you both work together. Keep this off Twitter.
Exactly.
And it reminded me, bro, I was on the plane the other day going to see my mom. I flew up to Jersey. And this guy and me are having this whole conversation. He's an attorney. We're just talking the whole time. He was a big dude, bro. So he's rubbing up on me. And like, of course, if we're touching arms, we're going to talk. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
was so big, bro. He couldn't even move over and try to give me space. Like when he leaned over, we were still touching. It was like that. But it made me laugh at the end of it because he asked me, he's like, are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? And I told him how many followers I have. And his face like lit up. He was like, what? I'm sitting here talking to this guy with 50K followers. To him, he thinks it's a big deal. But then when I looked at him, I'm thinking, bro, this guy can make millions, tens of millions of dollars a year. He's got nobody on Twitter. So there's like two universes existing, right? Where you have people and business and they're not even on Twitter. And then you have the people that are like more on Twitter almost than they are doing real business. And then, like you said, this gray area of overlap where you're kind of not, you're being transparent, but you're almost telling me too much. TMI, like just go run
Yeah.
the business and keep that off. So let's talk about the scammers and the cheaters, because I think people don't understand this fully. I don't understand it fully. I know we've seen some of these prop firms ban countries completely. And I see some of the firms are saying, hey, if you're already trading with us, you can stay, but we're not accepting new clients. I've seen some firms that just cut people off completely. So can you educate us on like, again, I don't want you to tell what the scam is or whatever, because then we're going to encourage potentially more people, but just give us an idea on like how you guys are handling that and what that looks like for you. I'm sure it's very frustrating.
Yeah, no. So well honestly, like they're gonna typically go after like bigger firms, right? So like the bigger firms are gonna go after, obviously they still go after like the mid-tier firms as well. But yeah, like that's the part that a lot of people don't see, where there's a lot of like trying to game the system, right? Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like the evaluation challenges, they're essentially the whole model is essentially kind of like a gamified version of trading. So like
It
there's
is.
just yeah, and there's just multiple ways that people like try to game it, whether it's through arbitrage, whether it's through reverse trading. And the big thing, like when you reference like the specific countries, right? Like a lot of like specific countries, not to name any country specifically, but some of them will like kind of like have these organized like pass your challenges, or like they get a group of like different people to try and to like do specific strategies to try and like pass evaluations, get payouts and things of that nature. And then like obviously from the risk side of things, we'd have to kind of like, not just us, but obviously every firm, they have to obviously try to catch that. They have to
Right.
try to deal with that situation as well, because it's just detrimental to the business when you have a bunch of people who are coming in. And again, with like the firms, like most firms who are doing things the right way, they want to ultimately try and monetize the data that's the flow that's coming in. And being able to monetize the data, what does that do, right? Yeah, first of all, it adds obviously another source of income. It also
Sure.
obviously adds more revenue to the business. Not only that, but then the data itself can be potentially monetized in different facets, whether you sell it, just trying to create some sort of like strategies around the data sets. Now, when you have obviously those cheaters and stuff like that, it kind of, there's just bad flow of data where that data is kind of useless. And I
Right.
think that's something that um some firm owners like Matt, for example, like from My Funded Effects, he's referenced before on Twitter as well. Where yeah, like that, it's just bad flow, it's just bad data. Not only that, but again, they're gaming the system, so they're just cheating the system. And it's like, again, it's part of the rule sets and the FAQs for most firms, that arbitrage is not allowed, reverse
Right.
trading is not allowed, these different type of strategies
Do
that people try
bots fit
to
into
figure out.
this conversation? Like no, like hedging bots or anything like that? Or is that kind of separate?
No, so yeah, any type of well, you can, well, it depends. Some firms that you're allowed to hedge
Okay.
positions, but again, The problem is like with certain countries, they'll have multiple people, pretty much like maybe like multiple people. Yeah, I don't want to get into like the exact strategies because then it gives people
It
ideas.
kind of sounds like an organized, like it's a bunch of dudes getting together in a.
That's literally what it is. It's just an
Wow.
organized group that they come together and they just essentially just try to like, are throughout like different firms. So
Would it not
it's a
be
whole
easier to
thing.
just learn how to trade?
That's what I thought, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Bro. Right. So could we compare it if like, because we have some listeners, I'm sure, who are maybe even still new to the prop firm because they're living under a rock or they're just getting into trading for the first time. Could we compare what you're talking about to like counting cards at a casino where it's like, look, we're not going to tell you can't go to another casino. You're not going to tell somebody you can't go to another firm, but you just can't trade here anymore. You're done. Is it kind of
No,
similar?
no. So like I would consider that like, so some firms, like if someone, let's just say, is like a little bit, they're making like too much money or whatever, right? Or like they view it more as like a full punt, right? Where obviously the risk reward makes sense. Like if think about it, if you're buying a $500, if you're buying a $100,000 evaluation challenge, right?
Yep.
To get a 100K virtual account. What happens is obviously you're paying $500 for $10,000 worth of like virtual drawdown.
Yep.
So the risk reward from that sense, because you could fail 5 challenges, no problem. Let's just say that's $2,500. But if I'm risking, let's just say 2.5% of the virtual account, once you get to that funded stage, right? What happens now is, let's just say you hit a 3R move, right? With
You made it
$2,500
back.
risk. Yeah, you just made so like $7,000 or 7,500
Profit.
bucks.
Yeah. You're in the
Yep.
green.
Yeah, now you're in the green, then you can just kind of full punt. So
Yep.
like that, like people like, because I've seen some firms where they kick out those types of traders that they're not really interested in longevity. They're just trying to punt the account. And some firms will, whether they kick them out entirely or whether they reduce their margin significantly,
Mm,
right? I would consider that the same scenario as counting
got it.
cards.
Got it.
But
Okay.
I would consider the other ways, like if I go to the casino and I have like a pair of aces under my sweater, under my sleeve.
And you just
Now,
slide that out. Right.
yeah,
Do you
because
remember
that's
the movie
cheating.
21, bro, where they were sitting at the table giving each other hand signals like come play here and they were doing shit like that? So that's kind of what we're talking
Yeah,
about, where you're trying to
exactly,
really
because that's
fuck the
cheating.
casino. Yes. Where like
Exactly.
counting cards is kind of like a skill that can give you a little bit of an
Exactly.
edge. Got it. Got it. All right,
Exactly.
good. Glad we cleared that up. How many hours a day are you working now, bro? Between your trading and all of this, like what's a day look like for you? Because I'm sure it's changed since we spoke last.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep everything done pretty much by the afternoon. Like, I don't want to be the guy who's kind of working afternoons unless it's like a must. I am taking a little bit more responsibilities in specific parts of the business now, so it might change a little bit, but for the most part, because I'm still obviously trading, like trading is like kind of like comes first. So I'll trade New York Open. Luckily for us, here in the East Coast, it's essentially like 9 a.m. I'm pretty much done by like 11 a.m. Eastern time when it comes to trading.
Yep.
And now I've even simplified it to the point where I'm just looking for a specific time window of where I'm looking for setups, like that New York Open volume
Yep.
coming in at 8 to 9 a.m. That's the hour window I'm looking for a trade. So it's like I could just show up to the charts 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, look for that exact specific setup. If it's there, perfect. If it's not, I'm not going to take a trade for the day. And then yeah, because now I'm kind of trying to optimize, like I'm trying to optimize my trading around like my life versus adjusting my life to my trading.
I love that.
Because yeah, because too many people, I think they're so locked in and focused on like trading, it kind of affects their life. But now I'm just like, hey, my life comes first. Obviously now with like SFT as a major priority, that's gonna obviously take a lot more bandwidth. And I just want to optimize my trading where it's like, hey, I can just look at the charts for 2 hours a day, 3 hours max if I really like have an extended session. And yeah. And then, Andrew Huberman?
Of course.
Yeah. He even says it like the human mind can truly focus at a task at a high level. Obviously, people can focus more than this, but at a high level is like the average is gonna be like about 90 minutes, an hour and a
That's
half.
it.
So
Yep.
yeah, so imagine staring at the charts for 2, 3 hours, like you're gonna be destroyed. And
Well,
if you
your
watch
decision
every single
making,
session,
right. You make shitty decisions by the end of it. Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of Huberman. You see him
yeah,
the other day with the video with his shirt
yeah,
off, bro. He's tatted
yeah,
and jacked, bro. Yes. And I feel like people don't know that. But then if you watch all of his content, you can see like this guy is
yeah,
practicing what he preaches. I love his stuff.
yeah,
But I'm big on that too, bro. Because I mean, when you're trying to juggle all these things, if you sat there and traded for 5 hours, how good of a partner are you going to be when you get on with Paladin and Riz and you start to talk? How often are you guys meeting? Are you guys doing daily? Because it's hard. I mean, he's in the UK. Paladin is down here, I think, in Miami now, right now. So like you're all over the place. You're not like in an office together all the time. So what do you guys do to keep the team together?
yeah. I mean, we have a group chat, obviously, just us three.
where
and
you
we
send each
yeah,
other dick pics every morning and all that stuff.
Right. Oh man, this guy Austin. But nah, but like yeah, like it's very easy because now like I think nowadays most businesses right that are run online, they have like team members that are all over the world
Yeah.
world. At least we're all similar time zones. Obviously, Riz is a little bit like ahead, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean we have weekly meetings at specific times during the week. Obviously, we have meeting with obviously like our support team, our backend team as well. And we have a group chat. So like we're pretty much talking in our group chat every single
All
day.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel like
it's
that's
not a
hard.
big issue.
It's the hardest part for me about everything that I do as well, bro. Like just not being in the office with people because I thrive off of like other people's energy. Like I make jokes like the one I just made to you. Like I like to fuck around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you're not with people, I feel like, yeah, we can make jokes in a group chat, but it's not the same as if you and Paladin throw something at him across the room. Like, you know what I mean? And like get into
Yeah.
it like that. It's hard to replicate that. That's why I asked the question. But are you planning in 2024 to go over to see Riz? Is Riz planning to come here? Do we have anything we can share about that? Any big meetups or anything planned on the calendar yet? Real quick, traders, before we continue with today's podcast, I want to take a second to talk to you about our newest service, what people are calling the Netflix for traders. It's called Asfx TV. If you haven't heard about Asfx TV, this is a live streaming platform where you can watch me and our team of funded full-time traders all week long. We run live trading rooms in the New York and the London session every single day. So it doesn't matter where you are, from your phone or from your laptop or your desktop, you can tune in and see the live streams, follow along and take trades with us, ask us questions, submit your trades for feedback. Basically anything you need, you're getting direct access to me and our team on Asfx TV. We dropped the price this year to $10 per month. I know it's crazy. Less than $1 per day and you can make money trading with us. Hopefully on the first trade, you're gonna cover your entire year's worth of membership just from being on the platform. So I've got a link probably flying in above me. It's definitely down in the description for a 3-day free trial. Come check it out. You can watch some of the recordings from our previous streams. We get all of them stored for you in a content library that you get access to. So check out the link. Come check us out on Asfx TV. If you're really taking your trading serious and you want to make more money this year, this is the way I can help you do it. So links are down below. Let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, we're most likely going to try to do like a Miami event or something in Florida.
Good.
Because obviously, like with SFT, like the whole branding behind it is we really want to kind of obviously do a lot of events and kind of meet a lot of traders because everyone's saying, "Oh, we're for the traders," right? But then it's like when you see how many of these firms have been around for like let's just say a very long time, 1 year, 2 years, but they're not really giving back to their traders, right?
No.
They're just saying certain things, but then like when it comes to action, they're not meeting their traders. They're not trying to host nice events. Um, and for us, like some people are like, oh, who cares about that? But it's like, listen, most people, and we understand this, most people are going to have a tough time with trading. At the very least, having opportunities, whether it's to network, whether it's to just have a day of fun where it kind of just you have that mental reset. That goes a long way. So like, and also when I feel like when you're around other people, like some people might look at like let's say a Kyle, because I always use him as an example, right? They might look at him as like, oh my God, this guy is like this crazy trader and all this stuff. And like he's very talented, of course. But at the same time, like I feel like when you're around these individuals that are doing great things, you realize like, wow, this is just like a regular person. They just put the time in, they're very disciplined in their approach, they stick to their process. And when you kind of see that firsthand, what happens is now it makes it feel more achievable because you're like, wow, I just spoke with Kyle. I spoke with Paladin. These guys are like, super legit. They're very they're just very relatable. And then when you're
Very
around,
authentic, very real.
yeah, and then now that might have that mental shift of like, you know what, I
Oh,
can
I can
truly
do it too. Yeah,
exactly. And we know the
exactly.
mind is very, very strong. So just having that belief system change, we don't like
100%.
the hosting these events, being accessible to like, all the traders and stuff like that is something that's very big for us.
Speaking of Kyle, that's a great answer. Speaking of Kyle, what do you think attracted him to work with you guys? Was it the dick pics in the group chat? Like, why did he come to you guys over everybody else?
You know what it is, and like we'll share this because like by the time it comes out in January, we'll probably still be working on it. But like, because the biggest thing is like we actually want to create like a trading floor, an in-house trading floor. I'm gonna probably do it in Florida. So we're like that's like one of the plans for Q1 of next year.
Love that.
Um, yeah, it won't be out by the time this episode's out, but it's fine because that's something we were talked about a little bit on
Yeah.
Twitter. And obviously, Kyle has that same vision because he wants to approach trading from a professional standpoint, and that's how we're kind of trying to position the brand as well from being as a professional standpoint, where it's
Well, I mean,
not.
you're looking at what Umar just did, right? With Blackline.
Yeah, Umar Asher, shout out to him, like him and
Yeah.
Trade Zella, like like that's exactly what the whole point of it is, right?
He's
Where
incredible, bro, isn't he? Yeah, he's like he's
yeah,
my age, right? He's 28. He's
yeah,
very good,
he's our age. It's crazy,
bro.
bro. It's crazy. There's levels
He's
to this.
unbelievable. I'm so grateful because he and I have the relationship where we're doing sponsorship for the podcast with TradeZella. He'll just text me randomly, like, "Hey, bro, how you doing? You good?" And in my head, I'm like, this dude does not need to just text me and just check in. He's got 80 other things and he's in Dubai. You know what I'm saying? Like the time zones are almost, but he still cares. I saw what he did with he got Riz the watch. Like
Yeah, the Rolex.
he's a guy that I think people like you and me can emulate. You know, forget the age. It's like experience. Like, and he's a guy who is transparent. He's honest. He's always shared. He shared his big wins. He shares his big losses. So I love him. I love what he does. With the trading floor coming to Florida, I definitely want to come visit. I definitely want to come in and
Yeah,
spend some
definitely,
time
bro.
when you
Come,
guys
yeah,
have it set up.
definitely. Yeah,
Because, you know, I'm in Tampa, so I'm not far from
yeah,
Miami at all. But Miami, I saw Ken Griffin, the guy that runs Citadel. He said that Miami is going to become a new financial hub. So I think you
yeah,
guys making that move to Miami is a great idea. Would that
yeah.
be a floor? Are you planning it to be all SFT traders or just kind of like anyone that wants to rent a desk? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we're still debating on that because obviously, like, if we can, we know if we do like kind of like the Sang Lucci model, we'll be able to
Yep.
sell
I
out,
was just going to
and
mention
obviously,
that.
yeah, and it would kind of like pay for itself, and
Pay
obviously
for
like
itself.
yeah, and most likely have a profit.
Yeah.
And even if not, as long as it
Well, it
pays for
depends on how
itself,
much your rent is in Miami. It might be ridiculously expensive.
yeah, yeah. So it really depends on the numbers, but like regardless, um, the goal I think like it's really like again we're still like debating on this, but one thing that we're kind of leaning towards is like you know what where we kind of have it open up for like SFT traders, so if they want to come in and stuff, you know
Yeah.
that way we could do it, and we could also do like the plan is to have half of it like a trading floor, and then the other half more like a content studio or
That's
like a
smart. Right. Do some
executive
podcasts. Yeah.
offices.
You got to have that. Yeah. You got to have
Yeah,
that.
so it's just again just to have like a way to be accessible to the community, to specific people, you know, just have that relationship with our traders where they can come in, they can trade the New York session, right? Again, whether or not because the thing is you would think that like, you know, obviously with charging because the thing is if it's just like a free pass, right? Then it's like how many people would just come? And
A
then you
lot.
kind of have to, yeah, it would be very difficult to kind of like maintain that.
No,
So we're
you
still
got to pay.
discussing and figuring out.
I think you, but you know, Lucci and I have a good relationship, and I looked at trying to get office space here in St. Pete. I was actually looking in the building where Kathy Wood has her office, Kathy
Yeah.
Woods for ARC, 800 square feet with nothing in it. You want to guess how much?
800 square feet only.
That's it.
Uh, like well, 5,000 a month.
15,000 a month, bro. Isn't
Bro,
that crazy? Isn't that
800
nuts?
square foot office.
800 square feet. That's all it was. And it was like you could have done two of them, but that's 30 G's a month. How many desks do I have to sell and fill for 30 G's a month? And that's it. Like that's the prime, bro, because that's the most expensive real estate around. I could have done it cheaper in another building, but I was like, let me just go see what the most expensive one is. I got a tour of it. I was like, wow, this is why Lucci does it in Puerto Rico. Because for
Yeah.
15 G's in Puerto Rico, you own the whole building. You get 30 floors. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
exactly.
Literally. We had a guy in the Dominican that I was coaching named Rafa. Rafa was talking to Lucci about doing one in
DR.
in the DR, maybe in Punta Cana, somewhere in the DR.
Okay.
Bro, it was a whole floor. It was like 4,000 square feet, 4,500 square feet, $8,000. That's it. I was like
Insane.
half the price and it's 4 times the size. So yeah, I'm excited to see you guys get that thing going together. Cause I think what I've learned, at least, even from doing this podcast, bro, like my trading this year improved as the interviews that I did were with more serious traders like Brian Shannon and Anthony Crudelli. Those are the two guys, Tom Basso, these guys that are way old, bro, they're double our age and
Yeah.
they've been trading way longer. When I talk to them, even on a podcast, I learn from them and I use what they tell me in my trade. Imagine being in an office with guys like that. Imagine what you can do. It's just such a better environment for traders than being on their own. You know what I mean? Because how many times have you, even me, bro, we've been trading, we make money in the morning, but we're bored. So we sit here and we trade more in the afternoon and give it back. You know what I'm
More
saying?
times than I can count. Yeah.
More times, but instead, if you look at Lucci, what does he do, bro? In the afternoon, they go and play beach tennis. They're playing paddleball on the, you know what I mean? As an office, as a team, the whole trade space team goes and does that. And I think that's what our industry needs more of. We need less Twitter beef, more in-person networking and leveling each other up together, you know? So I think that's a great idea. Let's talk about your trading for a second too. I know we've definitely talked about your strategy. Everybody sees you tweet a lot. You have your public group where you share a lot of ideas. So people can really dive in if they want to get more trade ideas from you. But how has trading been for you this year? Because I see even Kyle tweeted recently, and again, we're filming this in November, end of November. He tweeted he's going through a little bit more of a drawdown period. And he tweeted, he's like, hey, don't think just because I have my ups, I don't have my downs. So how has it been for you? And have you had any periods you've had to work through? Has it been difficult? Has it been great? Catch us up on that.
Yeah, I mean, so far trading this year has been pretty solid. I'll say this though, like I took a lot more time off of trading this year compared to last year. Simply just because obviously like with SFT, we were launching in June. So
Yeah,
like that whole ordeal was coming
yeah,
in.
yeah,
And obviously some stuff that had to be worked on. So obviously like the focus has to be shifted.
yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah, but this year so far has been pretty solid. I do plan next year though, because I really want it because now obviously the SFT is a little bit more like I don't want to say automated, but now that there's more like systems in place and things are kind of like flowing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Next year, like it's kind of like the year where I really want to try and push for like that seven figures. And again, I don't want to put that number out there because obviously you don't want to set specific expectations, but you know, and again, to do
Still want to
like
have goals.
yeah, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
the ultimate goal for me next year is try to get to that at the very least, you know, that high end like you know high end six figures to like pretty much reaching to that seven figure mark in terms of just like an annual thing.
Bro, I have
And
no doubt you're going to do it. You better move your ass to Florida before you have to pay taxes up in New Jersey and New York on that
yeah.
shit, bro. For real. I told Kyle the same thing when I met him in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah.
I
He
was like, you
moved
better,
too. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, you better bring your ass down here because how, like, I'm not paying the tax to these people, this stupid government. You know, that's a different podcast, different
Yeah.
conversation. Are you thinking about moving down? Do you think you'll make the move or at least part time?
No, definitely part time because obviously
Yeah,
with the trade floor
you
and
got to.
like because that's my number one thing. When we were in Dubai, right, for the SFT event,
Yep.
um, it was like I had like my biggest, well, not my biggest month this year, but I had like one of my best months in terms of execution and
Because you're
every
surrounded by great traders.
exactly. And the thing is too, like when we took I remember there was one event, there was a funny story. We were at like a showing in Dubai and we were all like in the same Euro short. And like I look over and like see Paladin check his phone and he's smiling. So I'm thinking, oh wow, like, this is probably in profit. Then I check my phone and you just see like the biggest green candle hitting all of our stop losses. And everyone's checking their phones. And like it was just that moment where we're all looking at each other, knowing like, oh damn, we're all just got stopped out, you know. But like see like that, it wasn't annoying getting stopped out.
I was
But
going to say it probably makes it easier because you're all in it together in a way.
yeah, and obviously we're not always in the trades together. Like
No, of
everyone has
course.
their own bias. But
Yeah.
even in a scenario where if I have a conflicting bias with someone else, you know, when we share specific ideas, like it's there's I don't know, just being around people like that you know are like solid traders as well. It's just there's just a different type of feeling, and that's why
Bro,
like we want to emulate the SMB model, which is like you know these guys obviously have professionals. They have like they talk about it all the time with Mike and with now Lance, so they talk about it all the time where they're that team environment, that team trading environment just helps so many people get to that next level. And I
it
think
does.
that's why one of my goals for next year, obviously in terms of P&L with trading, it's going to come down to, hey, listen, what do I need to do? Because I know the skill set I have is there, right? I'm calling trades like for free all the time on Twitter, Telegram.
Yep.
I have people messaging me about like, you know, just a skill set. So I know it's there. But now how do I translate that to take that next level? Because that's the difficulty in trying to transition from, you know, making X amount per month to taking it to that next level. There's like a
What's the
barrier.
answer? What is it? Is it account size, do you think?
No, not well. Yeah, obviously account size is one thing, but like you could get like a bunch of like you could use the evaluation companies and the firms. You get a bunch of them, and then you know that you could solve it that way. Obviously, I could fund a bigger account with Oanda if I have to. I
Sure.
also think the biggest thing is honestly it's just like sizing up. The problem with sizing up is when you take it's not taking one loss that I've noticed, it's taking consecutive losses.
Right. Because you dig
So
into such a deep hole, it's hard to mentally get out of it
yeah,
sometimes.
even though when you like people say, "Oh, just look at it from a percentage standpoint, right? Just fund the account more." But it's like, dude, I'm looking at the monetary amount. Like, if I lose five figures, you know, over the course of 2, 3 trades because I'm putting on, let's just say, $5,000 risk per trade,
Still hurts, bro.
because then you're thinking 15K. Like, man, I could have paid X amount of months of rent. I
Right.
could have,
Right.
I could have done this, and that is the difficult part because I can handle specific monetary losses, but I think once you start to really size up in trading and the monetary amount that you're risking the more you relate it to real life, it's just so difficult. And I spoke about it with Angelo from TFT, where when he doesn't trade anymore, but when he used to trade, that was his biggest psychological hurdle. Like, damn, I just lost $2,000. I could have paid rent this month. When you start to attach the monetary amount of how much you've lost to what you can do in the real life, that to me is like that's the biggest struggle that I have when it comes to trying to size up even more to the point where it's like, you know, because in order to make obviously to make seven figures a year, you need to do about like 88,000 per month. To get
Right.
to that point, you can't be risking $1,000, $2,000. You're gonna have to put on 10K per trade risk, you know. And for me to do that, it would honestly have to come down to like being able to mentally handle not one loss, but like if I have two, three losses in a row, which obviously in trading is very, very possible.
Right. Right. Do you get unlimited challenges with SFT?
No, no, we can't trade with SFT. Yeah, no,
Oh,
no.
really? So you guys don't trade with SFT at all?
No, yeah, we can't because as the owners, yeah, first of all, it's a conflict of interest, you know. And even like some of the contracts we have, yeah, we're just yeah, we
I
can't
didn't
trade.
know that.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, cool.
So I'll
So
tell you this, any firm
yeah,
owner who's trading with their own firm is a major,
scam.
major red flag. There are ways
Bullshit.
around
Right.
it. So you
Okay.
can, depending on how the business is structured, because again, every firm is going to be different. I don't know the ins and out, but
Yeah.
the way that it's structured, there's like typically a trading entity to the evaluation company that's completely separate,
Okay.
where you can then, let's just say you could use whether you want to use your own money or you're using some of the money from that's coming in from like as revenue that you could essentially trade. So like it's like a whole like so you can trade through SFT. Like I could theoretically trade through SFT, and this is something that we're experimenting, and we're obviously having our legal team just making sure that we're doing everything correctly.
Sure.
But like you know, but it would actually be real funds. It wouldn't be like the evaluation account. It would actually be like actual funds.
Right.
That's you know that's yeah that's deposit.
Interesting. Okay. Didn't know that. I bet you a lot of people listening didn't know that either. So that's good to know. Because I think it does make sense. It would be a conflict of interest. But one more thing, one more question on the trading stuff. I know you don't really go around calling yourself like an ICT trader, right? It's not like it's something I hear you really use that language.
Yeah, I give him his credit though. I give
Of
ICT
course.
the credit. Yeah, because he was one of my
And I
mentors.
know, and he gave Paladin a shout out once. I saw Paladin reposted it. Like he knows who you guys are. No shit. Like for sure. He's now gone off of social for a couple of months, and then he says he's coming back. Do you think that because the dude has like 500,000 subscribers, if not more than that, on YouTube? Do
No,
you
almost a
think?
million, bro.
There you go. So almost 1 million now.
Yeah.
So like, can his strategies become crowded and then not work? As someone who trades it, what do you think about that?
No, because I think with any strategy, man, like I've said this so many times before. I feel like you could give a trader a strategy that genuinely works 90% of the time, and the trader will still blow the account. Because you
That
have
is
to
true.
remember, it's really not the skill set. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely like a lot of unskilled traders, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also think that out of the majority that take it seriously, that are actually skilled, I do think that a lot of them don't make money either. Why is that, right? Because like some people they trade discretionary, there's some people trade mechanical, but they're like absolute beasts and savages. I've seen people who can call the markets consistently on a daily basis, like it's gonna go from point A to point B. Even Tom Dante, right, who's had many stories about that when he used to work in the typical brick and mortar prop shop as well. But what is the disconnect? The disconnect is like is the risk management, is over leveraging or putting on too much size. It's revenge trading. Those are the things that mess up the P&L.
The
It's crazy.
psychological. It's not the
Yeah,
technical strategy.
yeah, and it's so crazy because I hear people on Twitter talk about oh yeah psychology like psychological issues isn't the issue, it's having a true edge. But and I agree to that to an extent, right? Because I know Mike
Right.
Bellafiore and SMB they also share that same sentiment, but I would argue it's like it's not one or the other, you know.
Yeah.
Like someone can have a statistical edge because think about it from this perspective, then how come like specific firms like Trillium or SMB Capital that have proprietary trading strategies, how come everyone that walks through their doors isn't profitable if it's just based off edge? And they have like correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe now they have like certain quants that can help code specific parts of your strategies, or at the very least alert you to your strategy or to your play. They have whole playbooks, they have psychology coaches. Like you cannot tell me that these guys who have like a very reputable firm, who have proprietary trading strategies, who have systems, who have playbooks that they offer their traders, that it's all just like, oh yeah, like it's just a farce, right? Like
Right.
they're providing all the best type of information for these guys,
And
some of
guys
the
will still
best
mess it
tools
up.
and resources, and people still don't make it, So
Yep.
this idea and fallacy, it's just crazy that people are saying this. Like I guess
Yeah.
people just like I understand having your own opinions, but at the same time, I also think some people they just like to say certain things just
100%.
to kind of be different. But it's like, no, man, it's some people are very skilled, but they just can't handle the performance. You have to perform every single week.
And it could break. That's what I was just going to say. When my dad passed in June or July, I didn't trade July, August, September, end of September. I got back into it. October, I had a good month. I knew my focus wouldn't be there. Some people don't have the self-awareness at that point. I've already made the mistake before when I've had other things that distract the focus, and I know I wouldn't trade well. I think a lot of people succumb to things like that, where normally they can trade fairly well, but then life or whatever gets in the way and it deters them from the path. The way that tell me your thoughts on this. I positioned it to guys like, you need the technicals. You need to understand a strategy, ICT, ASFX, whatever. You need a strategy. You need to read a chart with a repeatable process. You have a clear process. You have rules. You have language. I call it like slang vocabulary to read the chart. You need that. Then these psychological things that we're talking over trading, focus, mental bandwidth, all these other things. I think that isn't even worth your time. It's fun to talk about and it's cute and it gets you likes on Twitter, but that's not even worth your time until you get something here that this can still be improved and the technical still needs to be tweaked, but it's not even worth talking about psychological issues until you have a rules-based approach. So I think some guys just go right to psychology and think that that's going to solve their problems, and it's not. You need that technical foundation. Do you agree with that or you disagree?
No, I 100% agree, because that's the thing. It's like, I forgot, someone talked about this recently, but it's like, you have to go through the process first of learning, and then you worry about the psychological stuff after
to see what's wrong with you.
Yeah, because you need to have a good understanding of the markets, because if you don't know what you're doing, then you can't chalk it up to psychology, because because someone might psychologically be perfect for trading, but then their skill set is not good. So,
or they have no skill set. What if they have no rule set? They have nothing to do, but the mental is that, right? So yeah, no, we're on the same page with that. When you look at this from the outside now, because I would say you have this outside in perspective of like the Twitter space, it seems to me that it's gotten more negative than positive almost. You don't see people really tweeting like, hey man, this guy, this is great. Thank you for doing this. It's really hard to find people big up in each other. Why do you think it is?
That's a good question, man. Honestly, I don't know, because like when I was on Twitter back, you know what? I think it was always like that, like, because I think it was always like that. Because even when I was like, I remember when I was growing my following on Twitter, right? I remember when I launched my academy, like I got so much hate and like people were talking all this smack. And I see it with other people as well. Like they'll build their following, whether it's through free trades, whether it's through payouts, whatever it is, right? And then when they launch something, you just see everyone like kind of slamming them,
bash them.
And I think it's always been there, to be honest. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit more worse now, because I think obviously with the especially within the evaluation company niche, it's just everyone's kind of like, ever since the MFF situation, just been
They're
like
cynical.
super negative. Everyone's just cynical. And I think it's also a bunch of like failed traders or people who are just having a tough time, that they just kind of like, they use that as an outlet to just like, oh yeah, well, they were doing like shady stuff, blah blah blah. Like for example, like, the slip them to hell. It was actually, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a very bad phrase, but it was taken out of context. Where
100%.
Like, yeah, like if you read the court docs, like it wasn't meant like, oh yeah, slip this traders. It was just like, yeah, like
a frame of reference to be a dramatic slippage. Yes, it's not like we intend. Yeah, and I guess that's where you, like you just said, it's the news. It's like the mainstream. It's like CNN. They take one thing that you say, they forget everything else that you said, and they run with that clickbaity headline. That's exactly what everybody's doing. And like you said earlier,
And I'll say this before I forget, right?
Yeah,
I bet you this. If the prop journalist on Twitter just tweeted and I retweeted it, where it was like, it's crazy, like how one good piece of news came out for MFF, and now everyone's like, oh,
they're coming back.
Yeah, it's so insane to me, because like, and I knew this was going to happen, like when the news first initially came out, and obviously like no one knew what was going to happen with MFF, but I'm like, dude, at the very least, like if things start to kind of clear up, and let's just say better news, because like there was like stuff that we were hearing behind the scenes about, like, oh, things they actually might have a case, or they might, settle, whatever it may be. Again, we don't know, it's all speculation at this point, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to be very interested to see how Twitter reacts if like better news comes out, a few weeks from now, a month from now. And now that, obviously they're still going potentially to trial. Obviously there's the case obviously is still pending and obviously still ongoing, but it'll just be very interesting to see like the public sentiment, how like people just shift and they switch. And yeah, it's just very, very interesting, because it's like the people that were, and it's crazy, man, because those people that were talking so bad about like the industry and the space, but then I used to see them all the time taking challenges. Some of them have their freaking affiliate badges, and I'm just like, guys, it's like, don't. It's just, I don't know. I just,
it's not good for the industry.
It's not. It's not.
Definitely not.
And it's just such a hypocritical standpoint as well. I just cannot stand ignorant people. No. Let me rephrase that. If someone's ignorant, that's fine because we're all ignorant in some sense in some
Sure.
topics.
Sure.
But I can't stand someone who's ignorant but speaks with such conviction. That
Yes.
is a big pet peeve of
Because you
mine.
can mislead people.
Exactly. And I just, yeah, it's just, and I definitely don't like hypocritical people, like hypocritical takes. It's just, yeah, man. And I think Twitter, unfortunately, because there's more virality with
Of course.
tweets versus
You
like on
phrase it
Instagram,
the
you
right
only
way
see,
and it goes. Right.
yeah, like versus on Instagram, you only see like the stuff that you like, the people that you follow.
Yep.
Yeah, just a whole negative spew like on the timeline, unless you mute certain words
You
and
have
stuff.
to. I was going to say you have to. But you know who we haven't heard from through this whole My Forex Funds thing? The
Who?
guy that runs the company.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though. He doesn't want to
100% to our earlier point about staying out of
Yeah.
it. But when you really think about it, who's the only person that really should be speaking on this?
Yeah, exactly. It should just be the owner, and it should, you know what, it should just be like a situation where it's like, hey, let's all just wait to see what happens, and then
No, but
boom.
then you have these other guys, like you mentioned, the prop journalists. There's that guy, Trader NOK or whatever, who are all like every day, this is what they're doing, giving their opinion about an update. And it's like, if you want to build your following, basically being the TMZ, right? Isn't that what it's called? Like the
TMZ.
drama report of prop trading. That's fine. That's everybody is entitled to do whatever they want. But like I said, those guys, in my opinion, would be better off spending their time and money trying to sit down with someone who actually knows what they're talking about. Not, hey, here's a document. I'm going to give you my opinion on this document, and then you should trust me because I get a lot of attention. That's where it spirals and it can be misleading. I think even if they come back, and I want to know your opinion on this, even if my Forex funds came back, who would trade with them? Like, they've already been flagged. They've already been blackballed in a way, red listed. So it's like, why would you want to trade with them to begin with? Right?
Yeah, because the risk scenario of them. But I will say, this is what's going to be interesting, right? Like, just obviously hypothetically, right? Because like,
Sure.
just because obviously that piece of news that came out was like pretty positive, but
Yeah.
obviously doesn't mean anything at this point.
No.
But hypothetically speaking, if they did come back, it'll be kind of interesting to see, would people kind of not prefer them, but would people like, hey, you know what? They went through trials and tribulations and they came out on the other side, right? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and you know what? They already kind of went through like the trials, so like, you know what? They might have that long-standing reputation now, or which I personally think this will be more of the case. They would probably have to rebrand in some
100%.
capacity, because what would
100%.
happen now, yeah, because what would happen now is, I think the public perception of all the court docs and like certain things, even though obviously we talked about the slip them to hell phrase, even though it was taken out of context, people will still think like, oh, well, if I go to
Yeah, he was
MFM,
still
I'm gonna
buying
get,
Lambos, bro, buying
yeah,
3 houses and stuff. That's not a good look.
yeah, and then
You
they'll
need a new
probably think like,
CEO.
yeah, and some of the phrases that were said behind closed doors, and you know the way that they spoke that were in the court doc. So I think that it just kind of like possibly ruined the reputation and just the trust.
Yeah.
And obviously with trust, it'll, especially with something like the
Can't get it back.
space, it'll be very difficult. So I think they would probably have to rebrand. But who knows? We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, bro, you know, I was doing promotion for a firm that got some heat and they did
Yeah,
not choose to rebrand, and they chose to stick it out and not even make a comment about the issue because they paid a settlement and they thought it would blow over. Well, they're not even in the top 15 of web traffic anymore. They basically fallen off a cliff. And I think like that is not the right approach. Like you said, rebranding, being at the front of it. I mean, what could save them? Like you said, a rebrand. Marat comes out, makes a video, one video, and says, hey, everybody, this is what's happening. I'm stepping away. We're hiring a new team, but our infrastructure, we're going to implement it here at this new firm, and we're going to be better. That could save them. They should hire me as PR, me and you, and they could pay us for that advice. But that is the only way. I really think that. And if anything, if they come back, I think tell me what you guys, I'm sure you, in your meeting last week with Angelo and Riz and everybody, you probably talked about this. It's probably not a bad thing if they come back for the industry as in whole, because it shows that the government has said, okay, we can allow this type of business if it's within this framework, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, anyone, and we've all talked about this for so long. Like any firm that's trying to think of the business in terms of longevity, in terms of like 5 years plus, they would welcome regulation simply because it would give us a framework to operate in. Where it's like, hey, we need specific licenses, if we need specific regulatory compliance,
we'll go get it. We'll pay for it.
Get it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer and stuff like that.
Right.
But briefly, there was like some sort of like registration that came out of that situation, that, like, let's just say US based firms would have to kind of comply with. Obviously we were kind of like looking into that as well. Obviously our legal team is going to kind of focus and see, is that something that's plausible or whatever. But now the best thing that could happen is like there's some sort of framework and regulatory way that, hey, if these firms want to operate, they have to do these checklists. And there was like I forgot the name of the specific license or like governing body that would have to register with. But
Yeah,
again, these are options that we're looking at because again, we're not in this business for just a year. We're looking for like, trying to build something sustainable, especially in an industry that's so new, where hey, if we can build something that can be like an FTMO, that can be like in the top 5, in the top 3 of the industry. That's something that we want to make sure that we have everything in terms of framework really very, very solid. So that way
sure.
we have everything functioning at a high level, everything functioning within regulations. And that is the benefit of the whole MFS situation, where it does give a little bit more of a clarity on how to operate certain things. Because again, man, like our goal is 5, 10 years from now. So it's like, hey, whenever regulations come in, now everyone can kind of build the business accordingly,
Yep.
according to the regulatory compliance.
Yep. Makes sense. Do you feel like, well, let me ask it like this, and it might be a tough question, but that's why we're here. Why did you guys jump to quickly changing the language on your website when FTMO and some of the other firms did not?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just ultimately to, again, I can't speak for FTMO because I don't know the
Sure.
in and out for them. But I mean, multiple firms did it. And I think it was because the big thing with MFF allegedly is the language and the way that they kind of marketed the product.
Because they
Where,
made you think you were trading real money.
yeah, they were telling you that, oh, yeah, it was live funds. They really weren't being transparent in that sense. And I think obviously, when it comes to regulatory bodies, is to protect the consumer. So just, I guess that was just a way just to kind of reiterate the same stuff, that we've kind of been saying on how, like, like what the business model is. So it's
Yeah.
just a way, again, just for, um, it's more, again, just more for like compliances, just like,
Sure.
hey, listen, we are in no way telling people that they are trading live capital. They are not doing any live trading. And it's just, I guess, just to kind of just again reiterate that point, even on the website at any go, just to make sure that people understand what they're purchasing.
I think that that's why I'm very bullish on you guys, not just because you're young and you're smart and I like you guys, but I think you guys are always trying to still put the consumer first, even before this whole thing. It's your brand gives off that vibe. Peter Brandt, who's in the Market Wizards book and everything, he
Yeah.
tweeted recently. You saw he retweeted the Imperfect Traders tweet, the Imperfect Trader, that guy he posted about all his
Oh
failed
yeah, the
challenges.
2.7. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then Peter Brandt retweeted it yesterday and said, these funding company things are the biggest scam in trading industry right now. And when I read his tweet, I was like, I really like him. Like, I think Peter has helped me with a couple of concepts that I still use and I love them. But that was almost like, okay, Boomer, you don't really understand what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that you're explaining it, this is a new business model. It's almost like it needs a new name, not prop trading. It needs something else, like funded trading. Virtual funded trading is really what it is. It needs to not be called prop trading. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, that's why we like even throughout this interview, I'm kind of referring it to as like an evaluation firm
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, because again, it's not the traditional; it's a completely different product. That's what I
Totally
think
different
what people
product,
don't
totally different
understand.
company, totally different market, totally different everything,
Yeah,
right?
and to
Yeah.
Peter's point, right? I want to address that as well, right? Because um, people have their obviously some people have their opinions when it comes to the firms. I would argue this though. I feel like fun. So, what is most people's issue with the firms, right? It's most people's issues with like the firms and stuff like that is they're saying that it's predatory, blah blah blah. But like financial markets are predatory in nature,
Right. This is the
and
most competitive market in the world.
I would exactly, and I would argue like again, obviously it's not the same, but like most brokers that operate under a B book are kind of trading essentially a very similar model in a sense. Obviously, it's not the same, and there's a
Very
lot of
similar though.
discrepancies. But yeah, and that's my thing when people kind of refer to that when they're kind of like saying they paint the firms in a negative light, but it's like, listen, man, there's people from like let's say India who've gotten 5-figure payouts who lives have changed simply because of the opportunity that's given to them. So for every negative comment that people say, and again, no one's forcing anyone. Again, I think as long as people are very transparent on the product, on what they're buying, I
Right.
think it's very important, like to understand. Okay, sure, everyone's talking about all the negatives, like oh yeah, people are buying challenges, and it's like there's a high chance of them not getting to a payout, which again, companies are very transparent about that nowadays. But guess what? The chances of anyone making a deposit with the broker and withdrawing net positive is also pretty much very similar in terms of
Very
speed.
small. Yes, very
Yeah,
small.
so it's like,
So
guys,
is Owanda a scam, right? Oh, they're
and that's my
predatory.
point.
Is TD
Exactly.
Ameritrade predatory?
Exactly. That's my point. Like, then you could argue, you can argue everything in the financial markets is predatory. The stock market is predatory, right?
Right.
The futures market is predatory. The Forex
My
market
mouse
is
is
predatory.
predatory. My keyboard is predatory because it's making me place the trades. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You go
So
down
then
the wrong rabbit hole.
yeah, but we like to focus on kind of like our mission statement where it's like, hey, as long as people, like, again, that's why it's very important for regulation to come in, because again, to protect the consumer, because obviously if someone's deserving of a payout, they should get paid out for taking their trades, for giving us their data essentially. um but yeah, like
Yeah.
I truly believe that as long as, like, the owners are paying out the proper people, they're doing things the
And
right way,
upfront and transparent.
they're upfront, transparent about the product. They're telling people this is not live capital. Like, I think that is very, very important. And I think ultimately, listen, not everyone's going to like the model. That's fine. Not everyone likes the UFC because they think it's violent, but the UFC
Right.
does very well, and they're
Right.
a big conglomerate. And at the end of the day, like, our focus is like, listen, we're going to be transparent with our community. We're ultimately going to have a situation where we're providing traders and people with opportunities that never have existed. People in third world countries, bro, like who again, a $10,000 payout for someone in India,
Life changing.
life changing. We're like, this is years, multiple years, decades worth of salary for some people.
Yep.
Depending on the parts of India they live in, or the parts
Yep.
of like
The
Africa.
Dominican, bro. Yeah. Even the Caribbean, some of the islands. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's like such a game-changing product, because now we're truly changing like some of these people's lives by providing them, not just us, but all the firms, providing them with an opportunity. Listen,
Yep.
no one is forced to buy anything. No one is
No.
forced to, but the reason why do you think the firms have gone so big recently in terms of like the last 2 years? It's because people understand that in terms of ROI, it's much better versus, if you, for someone who doesn't really have capital, it's a much better ROI. No one
Yep.
can argue that with me.
No.
Like, there's no argument to be said about someone depositing a $500 account on Hugo's Way versus trying to get $100,000 virtual account.
Right.
It's the risk reward in terms of how much you can generate in terms of money. It's just not the same. No one can argue that. It's just, there's no
And
way
it's
that someone can argue that.
it takes the model of how people have gotten rich in other, like in real estate, I think of specifically using other people's money. Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki, OPM, always OPM. I learned that a long time ago. Other people's money. That's what this is, right? Whether it's virtual or not, you're leveraging someone else's capital in a way, right? And I think that that's the idea, especially for some of these countries where, I mean, bro, to come up with 10 grand for some people in India would take years, and in some of these other countries. No disrespect to our Indian listeners, because I know we have
Oh
some
no,
in
of
here.
course not. But I
Not
just
at all.
think that
But we're just,
yeah, yeah.
it's a great, I mean, it's any country, right? Where, I mean, only in America does it cost $10,000 a month to have a decent apartment. Every other country, it's still reasonable. You know what I'm saying? Unless you go to Kentucky, and neither of us want to go to Kentucky. No,
Yeah.
no offense to Kentucky people. So let me ask you just a couple more questions, bro. I appreciate this time. I mean, I know the listeners are probably captivated because you're a real guy. I'm a real guy. And I think that's why people like this podcast. Give me some of the insights into why traders don't see consistent payouts. What do you see on the back end with the data? Don't give me the psychology. Give me something about the data of why traders don't see consistent payouts. What ends up being the reason? Do you know?
It's multiple factors, because obviously the thing is like the traders just in general are not as good. I think that's a big factor. I think there's an educational gap in terms of being able to trade. And we could see that directly through the support staff based off of the type of questions people ask. Like, most people don't understand slippage. Most people don't understand rollover spreads.
Spread.
Yeah, most people don't understand a lot of that stuff. So sometimes we get to see it within the support team, and some
Yeah,
of the questions that are being asked.
that makes sense.
I also think a big part of it is like most people are blowing their accounts within 2 weeks. So it's very likely that most people are blowing the challenges simply because they're kind of like trying to rush.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two main things I could really think of. That most number one, I honestly think that just most people in trading are just not, they don't have the skill set, like,
Yeah.
to be completely transparent with everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, like, if brokers talked about it as well, I'm pretty sure they would say the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think
Owanda
that
has said that. Owanda has put out like that majority of people that deposit money with them don't see a profit. So
Yeah.
if it's education that people are lacking, what are you guys going to do next year to provide more education? Because I think this is the whole, right? As someone who sells a course and I do mentorship all year round, none of these firms, you guys, Angelo, Matt, nobody's got their own course. Nobody's got their own education yet. Why? What are you waiting for?
Yeah, no. So like, so I can't speak exactly why. Because that was one of our goals to launch.
Yeah,
We're just waiting on certain things to kind of implement that. But in the
sure.
meantime, because it's like a little project that we're working on, that might take like a few months.
Yeah,
But nonetheless, in the meantime, what we plan on doing, because obviously, like that was a big reason why we kind of had Kyle on, right? It obviously he was obviously in the middle of moving to Florida, so obviously he was very busy. But one of the big things is like, we're gonna help him in terms of like promotional stuff for, let's say, his YouTube, and then he's gonna go ahead and create like educational slides. Obviously we're gonna try and host a bunch of webinars going into the new year as well. Maybe even like in Christmas time as well, like toward the end of December. We're gonna try and host a bunch of webinars, at the very least, like one solid webinar between me, Kyle, and Paladin that we can all offer insight, right? Offer
yeah,
different
that's great.
education. Also within the dashboard, just try and have like certain, like I think it's just very important for people to understand the very basic stuff, like the spreads, like
Yeah,
the pips,
that's what I'm saying. Like
because
that's easy to make. You need a good
yeah,
video and a good right and a good thumbnail, and that's something you guys can
yeah,
provide. And that's why, like, if you look at the old school prop model, like I worked at T3 and we have SMB and Trillium and all these other firms, they don't accept everybody. Like anybody can buy a challenge with you guys, but because they don't accept anybody, when they do bring somebody in, they educate them. They give them the proprietary information,
yeah,
exactly what they need to know. And I feel like that's the hole right now in the industry. Anybody can come out with a new 3-phase, 1-phase, this target, that target, blah blah blah. No one's coming out with a course that says, come here, trade our account, trade our education. It's going to help increase the odds that you can get funded. And then if you could have data that says we have 400 traders in the last month come through, or the last week come through, and 100 of them had already seen the education. And of the 400 that didn't, or of the 300 that didn't get the education, majority failed. But out of the 100 that did already see the education, 20% passed, a much higher pass rate by those people. I think that would be a huge selling point too.
yeah. And the thing is this, I honestly think at the end of the day, even the people that get the information, right? I feel like they're still gonna be, because again, man, like you could learn and you could have the skill set, but then
Oh
now you have to
yeah, you
bridge the
still
gap
fuck
to
it up.
execution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. So I think ultimately just have, but it's like you said, to your point, the whole point is just to offer the resources available, and then people will do with it as they would. We
Yep.
offer them specific, like obviously, like offer them like some sort of educational package for free on the dashboard, right?
Right.
Offer them all these different, like webinars that they can attend. Hire like an in-house like
Yep.
psychology
Yep.
coach
It
to help
makes
them
you
out.
guys look like you care about their success more, which will help in general. I mean, whether it's genuine or not, it still appears to be that you care then about the trader more, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is this, right? Just give the opportunities, give all the tools, give the resources, and then whoever utilizes them will utilize them. Whoever doesn't won't.
You'll get paid out,
And
right?
then again, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, it's up to the trader. At the end of the day, not just with firms, but like in general, like any type of trader, it's up to them to bridge that gap between education, between execution, between psychology. They have to bridge the gaps, in order to perform. Because at the end of the day, you could learn all the technicals all you want, you could learn all the psychology concepts, but like if you're not able to implement and you're not able to kind of put that out there, it won't make a difference.
I like that, bro. Bridging the gap from amateur to funded trader.
From
That's really
unskilled to skilled.
from unskilled to skilled. I love it, bro. All right. So where can everybody connect with you, bro? Because I know you're not interacting on Twitter as much. Do we want to still send them to Twitter?
Yeah, this is gonna come out in January. So I do have
Yeah.
like a project that I'm working for on YouTube. So I wanna, because I really want to get like the YouTube like
Okay.
going, because I know I
So
can
we'll
get the
link the YouTube down below and the Twitter. We'll do
yeah,
both.
YouTube, Twitter, and then yeah, Instagram. I'm still like iffy about it, but I think yeah, I'm just gonna focus. Like my goal for 2023, I'm sorry, 2024 is gonna be try to get the YouTube to at least around, let's just say 60,000 subs. I'm at like pretty much like 19K right now, but
Right.
I'm gonna
You should be at 100K by this time next year.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. But I
Like
just got, but I
100.
know I have to put in like time and actually
No,
like
you do.
put high quality into it.
High
So
quality,
I've
and
been
you got to upload
slacking.
a lot. You got to
Yeah,
make a lot of videos. So,
yeah.
but we'll support you, bro. We'll get everybody over to your page. We'll get some subscribers over there for you, because I appreciate you giving us the time, giving us the knowledge. I mean, you're our only guest so far that's done 3, bro. So you're becoming the GOAT of the podcast here. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Oh,
I
always,
appreciate
bro.
that also.
All right, everybody. We're going to put a pin in it here. I'm sure we're going to need a part 4 at some point, maybe middle of 2024, end of 20. When the floor is open, I think that would be great,
Yeah.
bro. Maybe we go and do an in-person. I'll bring my
Yeah, I was
video
about to
guy.
say in person
That's
this
what we
time.
should
Yeah.
do. All right. Good deal. And then since you'll be down in my neck of the woods, I can be in Miami in 45 minutes, bro. I just hop on a quick flight. So I'll be out there in January and we'll be out there a couple of times next year. So we'll make it happen. But for everybody listening, we appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed. Links are down below so you can connect with Omar and everything you need there. But brother, I appreciate you. And until the next time, we'll see you guys later. Thanks, everybody.